Somewhere in South Carolina right now, two women live in nearly identical houses on the same street in the same small town. One of them pays the county about $140 a year in property tax. The other pays 4 times that for the same roof, the same yard, the same view down the same street. The only real difference between them is the year each one signed her name on the deed. That gap is not a mistake, and it is not a loophole. It is written straight into South Carolina law, and by the time we are done here, you are going to understand it better than most real estate agents in this state, because it can quietly cost you thousands of dollars a year, and the person selling you a house has every reason on earth to keep quiet about it. South Carolina has some of the lowest property taxes in the entire country. In a few of these towns, the fee just to haul off your trash costs more than the tax on the whole house. But which town you choose and what is secretly paying that town's bills changes everything. Some of these places are cheap because they are paradise. Some are cheap because they are dying. And a handful of South Carolina counties just watch their taxes jump anyway, which tells you this deal does not last forever. So subscribe and stay with me, because we're counting down 15 South Carolina towns where property taxes almost never rise. I'll show you the counties where that streak just snapped. And at number 1, the single place that's both the cheapest of them all and the one where that hidden catch bites down the hardest. First, give me 60 seconds on how this actually works, because it is the key to every town on the list. South Carolina taxes a home you actually live in on just 4% of its value. A second home or a rental gets taxed on 6%. But you have to claim that 4% rate yourself by proving to the county that this is truly your home, and if you miss that one step, you will overpay for years without ever knowing it. Then, back in 2006, the state passed a law that lifted the single biggest line, the school operating tax, clean off the bill for owner-occupied homes, and paid for it by raising the state sales tax by a penny. And if you are 65 or older, the first $50,000 of your home's value is exempt on top of that. Stack those 3 together, and the bill in your mailbox can be shockingly small. But hold on to this one idea, because it is the secret the rest of this list runs on. When a county's tax on homeowners is that low, somebody else is quietly covering the difference. Sometimes it is tourists. Sometimes it is a nuclear reservation. Sometimes it is nobody at all, and you will feel that too. Keep that question in your head the whole way down. Who is really paying this town's bills? Now let's count them down. Number 15 is Abbeville. Tucked into the western hills of the state, Abbeville is built around a brick town square, so pretty it looks like a film set, anchored by an opera house that first opened its doors in 1908. The curtain in that opera house still rises on the original rope and pulley rigging, more than 100 years later. And here's the part that matters to your wallet. In the spring of 2026, Abbeville County confirmed it was holding its property tax rate completely flat, no increase at all. A county official said new building out around Lake Secession basically covered the county's costs, so they got, in his words, real lucky. A typical owner-occupied home here runs well under $1,000 a year in property tax, and with the senior exemption, it drops from there. Now, the honest trade-off is that holding taxes flat has a cost you don't see on your bill. Some of the county's fire trucks are pushing 25 years old, and the reserve fund is thin. But for a retiree who wants a walkable, historic square, live theater, and a tax bill that isn't going anywhere, Abbeville is a genuinely lovely place to start this list. and the next town trades the Opera House for a lake. Number 14 is McCormick. Way out on the western edge of the state, where the land runs down to the Savannah River, McCormick is one of the smallest counties in all of South Carolina. Just a few thousand people spread across quiet farm country and the shore of one of the largest man-made lakes in the entire Southeast. And for a certain kind of retiree, that lake is the whole reason to come. Savannah Lakes Village, a golf and water community on the shore of Lake Thurmond, has pulled in thousands of retirees from colder, pricier states, and here's what they found waiting. A modest home in McCormick County, once you knock off that $50,000 exemption for anyone 65 or older, can carry a property tax bill of just a few $100s a year. A few hundred a year on a house you own free and clear, sitting near open water. Retirees who ran the math moved down here from Ohio and New Jersey and cut their yearly housing costs to almost nothing, all for a lake view they never dreamed they could afford. The trade-off is real, though. McCormick is small and rural, the services are thin, and the nearest full hospital is a genuine drive. But it proves something you'll see again and again today. The lowest bills hide in the places nobody's talking about, and the next one climbs straight up into the mountains. Number 13 is Easley. Up in the foothills of the Blue Ridge in Pickens County, Easley sits close enough to Greenville to catch the growth and far enough out to still feel like a small town. It's Clemson country up here, rolling green land, cooler summers than the coast, and a tax picture that keeps getting better instead of worse. When Pickens County reassessed home values a couple of years back, and those values jumped, you'd reasonably brace for the tax bills to jump right with them. The school board did the opposite. They proposed actually cutting the rate and spending down their own savings, rather than let bills climb on the backs of homeowners. For an owner-occupied home in Easley, the yearly tax often lands in the $700 or $800 range, and the senior exemption pulls it lower. The honest catch in Easley isn't the taxes at all. It's the growth. The area is filling up fast, the traffic is thickening, and the quiet that pulled people here is fading a little every year. But your tax bill is not the thing that'll chase you out. If anything, it's one of the reasons the newcomers keep coming, and the next town might be the best kept tax secret in the state. Number 12 is Cheraw. Way up in the northeastern corner in Chesterfield County, Cheraw sits on the banks of the Pee Dee River with a historic green at its heart, and it carries a distinction most locals don't even brag about. Chesterfield County is repeatedly ranked as having the lowest average property taxes of any county in South Carolina. Not one of the lowest, the lowest. And unlike a lot of places, the county actually nudged its rate down in recent years instead of up. But Cheraw's real claim to fame is a man. The jazz legend Dizzy Gillespie was born right here, and there's a bronze statue of him downtown with his famous bent trumpet, plus a jazz festival every fall. Drive a little further, and you hit Pageland, which calls itself the watermelon capital of the world, and has thrown a watermelon festival nearly every summer since the 1950s. The honest note is that this is a poorer county, and it lost a Craftsman tool plant in Cheraw a couple of years back. But if you want the lowest average tax bill in the state attached to a town with real character, Cheraw is hard to beat. And the next town is where the tax break comes from, something you'd never guess. Number 11 is Aiken. Over on the western side of the state, Aiken is horse country, wide shaded streets, old winter colonies where wealthy northerners once brought their horses to escape the cold, and thoroughbreds still working out on dirt tracks in the morning fog, a short drive from Augusta and its famous golf. It's one of the prettiest towns in South Carolina and a longtime favorite for retirees who want charm without a coastal price tag. Now remember the question, who's paying the bills here? The answer is a strange one. Aiken County's single biggest landowner is the Savannah River Site, a federal nuclear reservation covering more than 300 square miles, and it pays no property tax at all. Instead, it makes a payment in place of taxes that, in a recent year, came out to less than what one single tire factory in the county pays. So the tax base leans on industry and on regular homeowners. And even so, the owner-occupied bill on a lovely Aiken home still often lands under $1,000 a year. Incomes here run modest, and real poverty sits just past that pretty historic district. But for the retiree buying in, horses and mild winters and a tax bill smaller than a car payment is a hard deal to argue with, and the next town might be the one you actually move to. Number 10 is Manning. Down in the middle of the state, in Clarendon County, Manning sits close to Lake Marion, the largest lake in all of South Carolina, and it has become one of the more sensible retirement landing spots in the state. Nearly 28% of the people in this county are already 65 or older, so a retiree here is in good company. The median property tax bill in Clarendon County runs around $400 a year, and with the senior exemption, a longtime owner can pay even less than that. But Manning carries something heavier than a low tax bill. Just down the road in Somerton, a group of black parents in the 1950s filed a lawsuit over their children's segregated schools, a case called Briggs versus Elliott, and it became the very first of the 5 cases folded together into Brown versus Board of Education, the decision that ended school segregation in America. Most people drive right past that history on their way to the lake. So you get big water, deep history, a town full of people your own age, and a tax bill around $400. The honest trade-off is a thin local economy and a long drive to major health care. But of every town so far, this might be the one you could actually picture yourself in. And the next one closes out the good half of this list with some of the cleanest water in the South. Number 9 is Seneca. Keep climbing into the northwest corner and you reach Oconee County, where the land crumples up into the Blue Ridge and the water pools into 2 of the most beautiful lakes in the South, Keowee and Jocassee. Seneca is the little city at the heart of it, and this is lake retirement done cheap. Oconee County held its tax rate flat in a recent budget instead of raising it, and the effective property tax rate here is one of the lowest in the whole state. Take a typical owner-occupied home near Seneca, subtract the senior exemption, and you can be looking at a bill somewhere around $600 a year out in the unincorporated county. $600 for a home near some of the cleanest lake water on the entire East Coast. The catch in Oconee is the one that shadows every beautiful, cheap place. The waterfront lots are not cheap anymore, and the wealth clusters right on the shoreline, while the town cores a few miles inland are poorer than the lake photos let on. But if you find your spot, the county barely taxes you for the privilege of living next to paradise. Now, everything up to here has been the good version of low taxes. Nice towns, real perks, small bills. That is about to change, hard, so before it does, one quick thing. If you own a home, or you're anywhere close to buying one, the rest of this list is the part that actually matters, because this is where a cheap tax bill stops being a perk and turns into a warning sign. So do me a favor, tap that subscribe button It helps this channel more than you'd think. And stay with me, because I'm about to show you towns where the bill is even smaller, and the reason it's smaller is the thing nobody wants to say out loud. And remember that catch from the very first line. The two women on the same street. It's coming back, and it lands hardest of all at number 1. Number 8 is Bamberg. Here the story turns. Everything so far has been low taxes in places you'd actually want to live. Bamberg is where the other kind of cheap begins. Down in the flat middle of the state, Bamberg is a small county seat where the property tax rate is actually high, one of the higher rates anywhere in South Carolina. And yet the dollar bill people pay is tiny. How does that work? It's simple, and it's a little heartbreaking. The homes are worth so little that even a steep rate on a low value comes out small. A modest owner-occupied home here, after the senior exemption, might carry a bill of only a few $100s, not because the county is generous, but because there's almost nothing left to tax. Remember our question, who's covering the difference? In Bamberg, the answer is nobody, and you can feel it. The county lost its hospital back in 2012 when it went bankrupt, so a medical emergency now means a long drive to somebody else's county. Bamberg is the first stop where the low bill stops being a gift and becomes a symptom. And from here down, the cheaper the tax gets, the sadder the reason behind it. The next town proves it, because there the work is still walking out the door. Number 7 is Union. Union was a textile town, and the textile industry left it, mill by mill, and it is still leaving even now. One of the last big plants in the county, a Milliken operation over in Jonesville, is set to close its doors in 2026, taking more than 100 jobs out with it. When the work leaves, the people leave, the home values sink, and the property tax bills sink right along with them. An owner-occupied home in Union can carry one of the smallest tax bills in this whole countdown, low enough that some folks pay more for a year of cell phone service than they hand the county for their house. That sounds like a dream right up until you remember why. The reason your neighbor's taxes are almost nothing is that nobody is bidding on the empty house next door. For someone who already owns free and clear and just wants a fixed income to stretch, that can still be a real trade, and your dollar goes further here than in almost any town in the state. You're just betting on a place that's been losing that same bet for 40 years. And if a fading mill town unsettles you, the next one lost something a whole lot more important than a factory. Number 6 is Kingstree. Out in the low country in Williamsburg County, Kingstree is an old tobacco town where roughly 1 in 4 residents lives below the poverty line, and nearly a quarter of the people are over 65. The property tax bill here is among the very lowest in the state, sometimes under $200 a year on a home you own outright. But Kingstree is a hard lesson in what that low number costs a place. This county lost its hospital after a flood back in 2015, then ran its emergency care out of what were basically medical trailers for something like 6 or 7 years, until a new facility finally opened. And because the property tax base is too thin to pay for much of anything, the county just reached for a completely different tax, adding a penny to the sales tax and pushing it up to 8%, which lands hardest on the poorest residents every single time they buy groceries or fill the tank. So the same families getting that low property tax hand a chunk of it right back at the checkout counter all year long. Low property taxes, absolutely, but a town that had to run its hospital out of trailers is not a town that's cheap, because everything's fine, and the next town has the strangest tax quirk in the state. Number 5 is Bennettsville. Up in the northeastern corner in Marlborough County, Bennettsville carries a tax quirk that's almost funny until you sit with it for a second. The property tax on a typical owner-occupied home here can come in under $200 a year, and the flat fee the county charges just to haul away your garbage can actually costs more than that. Let it land for a second. In Bennettsville, the trash fee can be bigger than the tax on your entire house. That is not the signature of a healthy town. Marlborough County runs a poverty rate around 30%, roughly double the state, and county jobs have been vanishing fast, dropping by double digits in a single recent year. The old Main Street still has its good bones, the brick courthouse, the tall storefronts, but a lot of the windows behind them are dark now, and the young people who might have filled them left for work somewhere else long ago. So if all you're chasing is the smallest possible tax bill, Bennettsville hands it right to you. Just know you'd be moving into one of the poorest counties in South Carolina to collect it. Now, before I give you the final 4, I owe you the other side of this whole story, because it would be dishonest to let you think these low taxes are permanent. Because here's the truth, nobody making these videos tells you. In South Carolina, a low tax bill can snap in a single county council vote. Look at Cherokee County, home of Gaffney and that giant peach-shaped water tower off the interstate. In the summer of 2025, the council there raised the property tax rate for the first time in 3 years on a split vote, after draining millions from savings just to keep the county running. And then there's Fairfield County up around Winnsboro, which is the cautionary tale of them all. Fairfield bet its entire future on a pair of nuclear reactors being built at a site called VC Summer. The county was counting on tens of millions of dollars a year in new tax money, and it borrowed against that promise. Then, in 2017, after roughly $9 billion had been spent, the whole project was abandoned, half-built, and simply walked away from. The tax windfall vanished overnight, the county sued, and within a few years, Fairfield had raised its property taxes not once, but twice. So when you hear a town has low, stable taxes, ask the harder question. What is holding them up? And what happens if that thing disappears? Keep that in mind, because the last 4 towns have the lowest bills of all, and every single one comes with a receipt. Number 4 is Barnwell. Down in what they call thoroughbred country, near the Georgia line, Barnwell is a small county seat with a famous old vertical sundial standing on the town square. And the tax bills here are tiny. For a modest owner-occupied home, a 65-year-old owner tends to pay somewhere around $500 to $600 a year, and on the very cheapest homes in the county, it can drop under $200. But by now you know the pattern cold, and Barnwell fits it right to the ground. This county lost its hospital in 2016, so the nearest emergency room is a drive you do not want to make with chest pains. And the state legislature had to step in and force 3 separate school districts to merge into a single one, because not one of them could stand on its own 2 feet anymore. A tiny tax bill anywhere in the state usually turns out to be the receipt for a hollowed-out economy, and Barnwell paid in every way a tax bill never shows you: the long drive to the hospital, the schools held together by an act of the legislature, the neighbors who left and never sold. And if you want to see the very bottom of this with your own eyes, look at number 3. Number 3 is Allendale. If you want to understand this whole paradox in a single image, drive down Old Highway 301 through Allendale, and you'll roll past a graveyard of 1950s motels their signs still standing over the road, their rooms dark for decades. This was once the main tourist highway from New York, all the way down to Florida, and Allendale lived off every car that came through, right up until the interstate opened 40 miles to the east and drained that traffic away over a few short years. Today, Allendale County is consistently the poorest and least populated county in all of South Carolina. Its property tax rate is one of the very highest in the state, loaded with special levies just to keep a hospital district and a fire district breathing on a nearly collapsed tax base. And still, because the homes are worth so little, an owner-occupied bill after the senior exemption can come in around $300 a year. An old-timer there once said, Allendale used to have all the hotels and all the restaurants, that it was the New York of every other town around it. Now the neon just rusts over an empty road. Allendale is the clearest proof of the whole thing, and yet it still isn't the cheapest. That title, the lowest bill in the entire state, belongs to number 2. Number 2 is Marion. Out in the PD, Marion County holds a number that stops people cold. The median property tax bill here is about $142 a year, not a month, a year. That is one of the lowest county tax bills in the entire United States, and it belongs to the same kind of quiet street where we opened, back in the very first line. But you already know the price of a number that small. Marion County runs a poverty rate near 31%, and its story is the story of tobacco. The nearby town of Mullins was once the largest bright-leaf tobacco market in all of South Carolina, with an auction house so busy it now holds a tobacco museum. When the federal government bought out the tobacco program in 2004, that whole economy folded. And the little town of Nichols, right here in the county, was flooded almost completely twice in 3 years, by Hurricane Matthew in 2016, then Hurricane Florence right behind it, drowning homes people had only just rebuilt. So yes, $142 a year is real, and it is the lowest you will find. It's also the receipt for one of the hardest luck counties in the state. Which brings us finally to number 1, the one place that breaks every rule on this list, because it's both the cheapest and the most alive. Number 1 is Conway, and really all of Horry County around it. After that long march through one struggling town after another, here comes the twist, because Horry County is not dying. It's the fastest growing county in the entire state, the beating heart of the Grand Strand, home to Myrtle Beach and to the retirees pouring in from up north by the tens of thousands. And it holds the single lowest effective property tax rate of all 46 counties in South Carolina. So who's paying the bills here? Tourists. Millions of visitors paying accommodations taxes and hospitality taxes carry so much of the county's budget that the everyday homeowner is left with almost nothing to cover for general operations. A retiree in Conway or out in the beach suburbs in a genuinely nice home can pay well under $1,500 a year, and often a good deal less, in the exact place everybody actually wants to move. South Carolina has been leading the whole country in retirees moving in, and a huge share of them are landing right here on this coast. So no, you do not have to pick a dying town to get the low tax. You really can have the beach and the tiny bill. But Horry is also where that catch from the very first line bites down harder than anywhere else in the state. So let me finally explain it. Everything I've shown you, the 4% rate, the school tax lifted clean off the bill, the $50,000 senior exemption, all of it is real. And it's exactly why the person who's owned their home for 20 years pays almost nothing and watches that number barely move year to year. The state caps how fast their taxable value is allowed to climb, no more than 15% between the big county-wide reappraisals. That cap is the whole reason property taxes here almost never rise. But you have to read the fine print, because the day a house is sold, that cap resets straight to zero, and the taxable value leaps up to whatever the home is worth in today's market. The protection was never built for you, the buyer. It was built for the seller. So in a place like Horry, where prices have climbed for years and homes change hands constantly, you can buy the very same house next door to a longtime neighbor and pay 2 or 3 times what they pay for the same walls, the same yard, the same street sign. That is the 2 women from the opening. Same house, same street, wildly different bill, all because of the year they signed. There is one small mercy tucked into the law, a chance to knock a quarter off that reset value. But here's the cruel part. You have to know it exists and file for it with the county before a deadline in your very first year, and almost nobody selling you a house is going to mention it on the way out the door. Same word from the opening. You have to claim it. Miss it and you pay full freight. So before you ever buy a home in South Carolina, here are the 3 moves that protect you, and each one is basically a single phone call. First, the day you close, file for that 4% legal residence rate with the county assessor. Do not assume it happens on its own, because it does not, and every year you wait, you're paying the 6% rate built for vacation homes. Second, if you're buying, ask that same assessor about the 25% exemption for new buyers, the one that knocks a quarter off your reset value. It is not automatic either, and there's a hard deadline in your first year to claim it. Miss the date, and that money is gone for good. Third, and this is the one that matters most, before you even make an offer, call the county auditor and ask them to estimate the tax bill at the price you are actually going to pay. Not the seller's bill, yours. That single call can turn up a gap of thousands of dollars a year, and it is a whole lot better to learn that before you sign than to find it in your mailbox the following November. Do those 3 things and you will pay what a sharp local pays, instead of the newcomer penalty this system hands to everybody who does not know to ask. So those are 15 South Carolina towns where, if you already own the home, the tax man is barely a whisper, plus the counties where that streak just snapped. From Lake Country and Horse Country, where those low taxes are a true gift, all the way down to the hollowed-out towns where a tiny bill is a warning sign standing out in the open. The real question was never which South Carolina town has the lowest property tax. It's which kind of cheap you're actually buying, the kind that comes with a lake and a future, or the kind that comes because everyone else already gave up and left. And whichever town you end up eyeing, do one single thing before you sign anything. Call the county auditor and ask what the taxes will be after you buy, not what the seller is paying right now, because that can be a wildly different number, and the person selling has zero reason to bring it up. In South Carolina, the low rate on the sign is almost never the tax you'll actually pay. The house remembers who owned it before you, and the day you sign your name, the meter starts fresh. If this saved you even one bad surprise, do me a favor and subscribe. It's how we keep these coming, and tell me down in the comments which county you're looking at, and I'll tell you exactly what to watch for. I'll see you on the next one.